Hi everyone, and welcome to Helpseed's Hangout. Today in our live hangout session on lifestyle series, we have wonderful patient advocate Anne Fonfa. I personally am very fond of Anne. As I started my career as a cancer nurse and a holistic practitioner, I thought I knew a lot until I met Anne. And she changed my view. She changed how much we need to understand and know about the people we work with. While I've not been a cancer patient, I have struggled with my own chronic health conditions, and I really got to learn and grow with Anne. So it's really a great pleasure to have Anne here and share all the wonderful knowledge and insights that she has. So Anne was diagnosed with breast cancer in 1993. She explored alternative therapies and started a study group in New York. And from summaries of 60 or so meetings in the groups, she posted on her site, which she called the Appleseed Project. So as soon as she needed help, she went and found it, and she found ways to help people. She started this in 1999, and it is a nonprofit corporation which today serves 85,000 people monthly via the internet. She's attended hundreds and hundreds of scientific, medical, research, and advocacy meetings since 1995. And she and other volunteers gather a lot of information and disseminate it via the web and talks that Anne gives throughout the country. It's truly a pleasure to have you here, Anne.
Thank you so much.
Before we start, I have to tell everyone how I met you. So I met Anne at SIO, which is Society of Integrative Oncology conference. I was a speaker there, I think. I thought I knew about integrative medicine. At least I was interested in it, and I was exploring. And Anne came up to me and talked to me, and she introduced me to Annie Appleseed and all the knowledge and resources she has. And she's so full of energy that since then we have been friends, we have been colleagues, and we have both grown in our friendship and what we bring to the community. So super excited to have you here, Anne.
Thank you.
Great. So let's start with, I know I told a little bit about you, but I'd love to hear your life before cancer, before your cancer diagnosis. What was that like? Because what we all know you is Anne after cancer.
So that's an interesting question. I was, my whole career in business was in sales and marketing. I started in the toy industry. I did some work in the stationery industry. I worked in video duplication, video production, and finally business presentations. So I've always been a marketer and a networker. And so when I was diagnosed with cancer in January of '93, it was easy for me to reach out and talk to other people. Mm-hmm. I'm someone who, I've been an activist in political areas for many, many years. I care deeply and passionately about economic and social justice issues. And that just parlayed into what I could do with and for people with cancer.
That's wonderful. Definitely. I think you've done so much for the community. So tell us, so you were in marketing and, doing a lot of work there. And then how did you find out when you were diagnosed with cancer? What was that experience like for you?
So I was 44 years old at the time of diagnosis. I didn't know anybody living with cancer. And it was just before women started talking about breast cancer. So there was a support group in New York City where I lived, as you mentioned. And so when I was suffering at the time from multiple chemical sensitivity, and some of the listeners may know what that's like, but I was reacting with terrible headaches, 3 or 4 days in bed from exposure to people's cologne, hair tonic, shampoo, soap, deodorant, fresh paint, cleaning products, carpeting, you name it, everything made me sick. So I was really bothered with that. But I found a sort of a callus on my left breast at 2 o'clock. And I mention that because 50% of all breast cancer is the left breast at 2 o'clock. Think about that, and we'll talk about it. And so I went to my friend who was an acupuncturist, and I said, hey, what's going on here? I got a callus on my breast. So who heard of that? And she said, why don't you see your doctor? I said, okay. So I went to where I usually get it. I had gotten 2 mammograms over a 4-year period, and I went there at the age of 44, and they went wild. Oh, we got to see a surgeon right away. And so I went to see a surgeon. I actually knew so little about medicine that I didn't know I could choose my own doctor. I thought this gentleman was my surgeon, even though all of my doctors were women. It just never occurred to me that I could say, oh, wait, I want a woman surgeon just like all my other docs. So I met this gentleman on a January, I want to say on a Thursday, I don't remember the date. And he said, his secretary came in, she said, oh, your insurance company's already approved the surgery, so we can do it Monday. And I heard from that, oh, A, you don't need a second opinion, which I thought was something that was a problem and that the insurance company was blocking the way. And I also heard, oh, you must have terrible cancer because there's only 4 days between discovery and surgery. So that sounded to me like, wow, I'm really dying. And again, I didn't know anyone living with cancer. So, I spent Friday at work, Saturday lying in bed with my beloved husband saying, oh, don't worry, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. And in my head going, boy, this is my last Saturday on earth. This is really sad. And Sunday, kind of more of the same. Sunday night at 8 o'clock, I got a phone call. This woman said to me, Ann, you don't know me, but someone told me that you have breast cancer, and I want you to know that I'm a 10-year survivor. And when she said that, my entire body lightened. Even now, I get goosebumps when I say it. She made me realize that I could live as well, and that changed everything.
Oh my God! Wow!
Yeah.
I know, just that right person at the right time can just change the entire perspective, isn't it?
Yeah, I went in a completely different mindset, and I mean, I discovered afterwards that there's so much to know that I had no idea about. And when I joined the support group after that, I found out even more stuff. But I often joke with my husband that everything I thought about was old, like right in the beginning, like in kindergarten, so to speak. And I had ideas and concepts right away. And they followed through all of these years. It's 23 years later, but I still believe the same things that I suddenly thought of during that time period. I wrote down 12 things that I thought were completely crazy about the way cancer was handled. And the first one, unsurprisingly, was...
Yes, tell us.
Was underlying the idea of, you give chemo and you don't know if it'll help people? Wow. Because chemotherapy, that's a heavy-duty treatment, and we don't know who we're giving it to for a long, long time. Now there's some tests you can actually tell in some cancers who needs chemo or may benefit and who does not. Now, I didn't do chemo because, back to my chemical sensitivity, I was very sick from chemical sensitivity. When I met with an oncologist after the surgery, and again, I found out at that time that I hadn't been told anything about lymph node dissection, axillary node dissection. No one told me. No one told me about lymphedema. I developed lymphedema. They took 18 lymph nodes, and I was furious because I felt like I would not have consented to a surgery like that, because the purpose of it was to tell what kind of chemotherapy I might need. And I felt that was totally unfair to be uninformed about that. And the other thing I noticed was, of course, I had to make the decision to sign the form, which I couldn't understand, while I was wearing a gown with no back. I had no glasses, no shoes, no watch, no ID. It was just me and my blind as a bat eyes. Like, what? And I signed something. People say, oh, you must have signed for the node dissection. Well, I must have, but I had no idea. So the second idea was, we need to be fully informed. We need as much information as possible. My third thing was, after I saw the oncologist, he said, as I came in, oh, we'll start you on chemo next week. And I said, well, doc, I have a problem. And he said, oh, it doesn't matter. And I said, no, I want to tell you what that problem is before you dismiss it. I told him, reacting to that, this, that, and the other thing. And he said, same way, oh, it doesn't matter. And I said, no, this matters to me. I want to be me, the person you're looking at. I'm not the cancer in room 7. I'm a person with cancer, and I have special needs. And he couldn't grasp that. So I left. I decided not to do chemo, and I really didn't plan on doing it, but that really decided me. And, I thought, so the other thing, you must look at the person in front of you. And I think even to this day, that's missing For example, if I talk to a doctor about someone's mammogram, and there's some reason that person might really need a sonogram instead, but the protocol is mammogram. Hey, who are you paying attention to, the person or the protocol? I think we've lost touch of the fact that it has to be about the person. And it's true for 20 years already that it's not being done that way. Now we have this discussion about personalized precision medicine. I think it's nonsense. I really do. Another of my kindergarten ideas, I had very large breasts. I went and met with a radiation oncologist. Radiation oncologist said, oh, well, we're going to, we'll radiate the whole side. It'll be your heart and your left lung. I'm like, well, wait, why don't I lie prone and they'll hang down? They're big. And you could, you could radiate. She said, oh, I can't do that. Now they do that for people who need it, because going through the left side, your heart, your lung, is that right? No, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. So that was one of my ideas. I invented prone radiation for whatever good it did. But, it was part of my, I mean, I had a lot of interesting ideas that were completely out of crazy, but they made sense to me, and over time they made sense to other people. So I joined the support group. That was very good. I talked to other women. What can be done? So for me, I said, well, I have to find an alternative. And then I said, oh, wait, I've heard of that, alternative medicine. I could do that. I didn't know what it was. Literally didn't know what it was, even though one of my closest friends had become an acupuncturist. But because it was Franny, I didn't think, that's not alternative, that's my friend. Okay, so I started doing all sorts of things. I changed my diet to 100% organic. I moved into the world of mostly vegan, and I started taking a lot of supplements. I started exercising. I'd get up at 3 a.m. because according to Chinese medicine, that was a good time for the liver. And I would exercise. I'd ride my stationary bike for an hour from 3 to 4 a.m. because that was supposed to be a good time. I did all sorts of stuff. And in 2 years, less than 2 years, I got another tumor that I found. Second one, same place. I just talked to a woman today who was complaining that she got a tumor in the same place and she didn't understand how they could have missed it. But most of us know that you can't see cancer when you're looking at it. It doesn't look like cancer unless you're on a microscope. Most of us don't carry those around with us, and the surgeon doesn't either. So it developed in the same place. And I had a biopsy, second biopsy, removing a wide excision. Turned out there were 2 tumors there. So I had my second and third tumor. But the good news was, doctors say, oh, don't do chemo. It's growing so slowly. It'll just kill your digestive cells, your throat and stomach lining. That's what causes people to throw up and have problems with their digestion. So I wasn't going to do chemo anyway, but I was happy to hear that. And I said to them, hey, I must be doing something right, because you just told me not to take chemo and then it's so slow growing. And they said, and I more or less quote, well, we don't know how you're doing because you didn't do chemo and you didn't do radiation, so you don't fit our protocol. So back to my story about protocol. I don't have to fit their protocol. They have to look at me, tell me how I'm doing. So I had to tell them, I said, I think I'm doing darn well, because you just told me I had very slow growing cancer, slower than normal cells. I think I made a huge difference by my protocol. I worked for that, but I felt that that was true. So 6 months later or 4 months later, I got 6 more tumors. So what's my explanation now, And I had a new surgeon, a woman I had chosen. And she said, well, this is really the same cancer, but it's slow growing, so it's just showing up over time. But it was really multifocal, which I didn't know. And I'd originally had a lumpectomy, should have had a mastectomy, but nobody did a biopsy. I didn't know anything. Things unfold over time, and you don't get enough information, and that's still true today. So finally, I had a mastectomy, and it's a long saga, really, but I kept on with the protocol, and I was growing healthier and stronger. And the women in my support group would see that I was getting well. They were getting sickly. They were weaker. They were fatigued. They were thrown up. They were gray. They were pale. And they started saying, well, maybe we could walk with you. What'd you have for lunch? Did you make juice today? What was in the juice? So I was sharing my little tips, and they were doing them. And some of them were doing them. Some of them began to feel a little bit better. So then it was proposed to me in... Yeah, and I worked within a cancer support group. So if you have a good idea when you're in a peer-led support group, they say, hey, you do it. So I said, maybe we should have a whole health study group. And I had this friend, Rita, who said, yeah, let's do that. We're going to do that. But she went off to graduate school, and I had to do it alone. So I was the director of this little meetup, which was all about natural therapies and lifestyle and what we could do. And I brought in my friend who was the acupuncturist, and we had a talk from her, and we were all we were finding things. Living in New York, I found a lot of possibilities. So dietary changes was the number one thing. I started eating, like I said, mostly, well, all organic for my part, going to the farmer's market 3 days a week. Even, I basically stopped working when I got the first round of recurrence. I was lucky. My husband could support me, and he did very graciously. But then I was also doing these exercise programs. I was taking a lot of supplements. I was drinking water. I was making juices. I started doing coffee enemas for detox. I'm a happy person. And even though I had cancer and endless tumors, I was still happy. I felt like I was getting somewhere with what I was doing. And I loved working with people and talking to people and sharing information. That was really cool. And so I just kept on doing what I was doing, regardless of what was happening. But over time, I got more tumors, and that was astonishing, even after a mastectomy. And I didn't expect that, but I had it. However, I'm here at the American Holistic Nurses Association conference, and I met with people from the company called Biotics Research. And I said to them, hey, I used your Bio-AE Emulsion Forte when I was reducing tumors on the chest wall, and they gave me a free sample, so I have one. I don't sell anything, but I thought it was really interesting. So that worked, but I got other tumors. So then I did some other stuff, which also worked. Over time, a lot of things worked. And everything kept me healthier and stronger and more positive. And then eventually, I went to a clinic in Mexico, and I did some protocols there. And I saw amazing things at the clinic, but those amazing things did not exactly happen for me. I continued to have small, tiny tumors on the chest wall. But I also had systemic candida as a result of the chemical sensitivity. My immune system was a mess. So that got a lot better. So that was a great help to me to go to the clinic, even though it didn't heal the cancer. But everything moved me toward the path of health. Every single thing that I did made me stronger and healthier. And when I talk to people about opportunities and choices and making decisions, I say just do things. Don't be waiting to find out if the next thing's going to be okay. One that's right with you, start it now. See how it goes. You can always make changes. You're not committed to the protocol if it's not working for you, but there's many paths to wellness. The Appleseed Project, my organization, that's one of our strong focus points. There's many paths to wellness, and that's the good news in the natural world. And, astonishingly, from my viewpoint, so many of them work together. And you don't have to limit yourself. There's categories, there's that what you eat, your exercise, your stress reduction, your relaxation, but your detox, your dietary supplements, and more. I did Chinese herbs.
Right.
There's Ayurveda, there's homeopathy. There's so many paths, so many things that it's worth exploring. I think, the problem we have with the conventional medicine side is they don't know enough about the other stuff, and they're not prepared to learn. So once a doctor starts exploring new stuff, they're kind of outside the norm, and that's a scary thing to do. And your community doesn't like it, so that's a bad thing. But the patient advocate movement is driving this, and patients are saying, hey, doc, I'm thinking of trying this. Hey, doc, I'm doing this. And if they say, what do you think? The doc says, oh, you shouldn't do that. I say to them, you should ask the doctor, what is your evidence for saying no? Because there's no evidence, or they don't produce evidence, why are they saying no? And people have been shown to benefit. Now, the way they're shown to benefit is what are small studies, because the funding comes mostly from big pharma or the government. And unfortunately, our government does not fund those type of natural therapies either. So they're mostly small studies that are done within a particular institution or by a particular set of researchers. And because they're not what's called level 1 randomized, multi-centered clinical trial, they don't get a lot of attention. And pharma drives our industry. We know that. They're in charge of oncology. And what they do is promote their products. They don't promote natural stuff. So you don't see front page story, wow, we just had a successful study on this or that protocol for natural therapy, because no one's promoting it. No one's spending that money, including my organization. We're an all volunteer nonprofit. We can't promote, but we can encourage that. And when I talk to pharma people at conferences, and I say, hey, the company that combined a natural protocol of boosting the immune system, after all, we're in the era of immunology. So for boosting the person's immune system, which I think is a great idea, and they took your drug and they did well compared to those who just took your drug, hey, you know, and they say to me, Ann, we can't patent that, you know, meaning that's the end of the story. And I say to the advocate community, patient community, is that the end of our story? I don't think so. And that's an important difference. You know, we have to advocate for ourselves. We have to stand up and take and do what we need and talk to our doctors about it. I'm not saying to hide it. I think it should be shared because that's the only way they're going to learn anything. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I am a living, breathing example. I'm a 23-year breast cancer survivor, did not do chemo, I did not do radiation, I did not do hormonal treatment, I did a lot of other stuff, and I'm still here. And I think I'm not special. I'm a regular person, therefore other people can try it. And my original non-scientific idea was if somebody benefits, someone else might benefit. And I still think that's true, you know. It's Absolutely. A little more complicated, but it's certainly a realistic possibility. And of course, over the years, I've met thousands of people who've used natural therapies to a great extent. And they don't have to do only natural therapies. Like I said, integrative oncology, which you and I both support and believe in, should be done by everybody. No one should take chemo by itself. It's harmful. And you can reduce the harm by doing natural protocols. Same with radiation, everything. And also, if
Absolutely. There's so much you can do for symptom management with integrative medicine. And it's all evidence-based. There's a lot of evidence that's out there for the symptom management. And it's backed by research, even though it's smaller studies. But it's there and it's supported by the national organizations like SIO, which has the top oncologists from all over the country. I think a lot of people don't know, a lot of us don't know about it, and that's why this forum is great for us to share about that.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's, you know, when I was looking for information in 93 and have the internet, it was really hard to find information. When I put up the website, AppleseedProject.org, my idea was go to one site and find a lot of information that you need. Now there's so many places with information. Now you have to go to reliable information sources, and that's a little complicated. But my nonprofit, we don't use advertising, and I feel that makes us very reliable. We also have the seal of approval from the HON, Health on the Network, and that is because we meet the 7 standards that are important. We don't have advertising. We don't promote things. We don't sell things. We just give information to people who need it. And people should download the information and take it to their docs and talk it over. But they have to make their own decision because for the most part, the doctor may not know much about it. But these studies are there. Anyone can get them. The Library of Medicine is online, pubmed.gov, pubmed.gov. Anyone can access it. You can look up anything. And, people like me, patient advocates, will help the study is about if you can't figure it out. I must say, language is very confusing in most studies, very confusing. And it can be really complicated, but it's not impossible. And some of us have learned how to do it.
The resources they can go to is PubMed, they can go to Annie Appleseed, they can go to HelpC. I believe SIO has a lot of great information. NIH has an entire site for NCAM. They can go there. What other resources would you suggest, Dan, for people?
I'm strong on patient advocate groups because they usually have lots of information about the specific cancer that people are concerned about. So for me, I started out being breast cancer specific, but over time I realized that it's about the human body, not so much what cancer you have, but how you build yourself up and get your own strength and energy and fight the disease and deal with the cancer. But I think patient groups for every type of cancer are really important, and there are tons of breast cancer groups. And, you've mentioned really most of the resources that we rely on. Library of Medicine being PubMed.gov. The National Institute of Health has the the Center for Complementary and Alternative, but they don't focus much on cancer. So I prefer the National Cancer Institute's Office of Cancer, Complementary and Alternative Medicine. Like HelpC Health, obviously. I think Society for Integrative Oncology is integrativeonc.org. And each of there are websites for people interested in acupuncture. There are websites for people interested in homeopathy. And you should go to those sites and get the information. And, you can find lots of information. And people like me, kits will help sort it out. That's what we do every single day. I took 3 calls today, sorted things out for people. I can't make decisions for people, but I can give them information that will help them make more informed choices. That's important.
So tell us, like, how people reach out to patient advocates, because it's not something that's taught in the books. So what is the experience like? How do people find patient advocate? What kind of conversation can they have with you or with any other patient advocate? What kind of information can they get? That's one question. And the second question related to this is, you've done such a fantastic job in advocating for yourself and researching for yourself in terms of what you want, what you don't want. Some of it has been from hard experience, and the others you have really been proactive. Can you also talk a little bit about how to have conversation with your provider, with your team, if you're not used to talking about information that is different than what the provider knows, or being the one who brings information up and discussing if it's not in the provider's realm. So can you suggest some ways to ease that tension and be able to bring it up in the conversation?
Yeah. Okay, so finding an advocate. So every area, every geographic area has support groups, which usually have some more educated advocates who are part of it, people who are focused on that, or there's national groups, and they can be contacted. I just yesterday was trying to find groups in Adelaide, Australia, because I'm going to a meeting there, and the organization, the Multinational Association for Supportive Care in Cancer, said, oh, we're going to have a patient event. And I said, have you invited any patients? So I'm a networker, I'm a marketer. I looked online and found 14 groups in Adelaide, and I contacted them and said, hey, you ought to know about this event that's taking place in your city. So anyone can do that. There's also Facebook and Twitter. You can reach out. You get so much response. People really want to help other people. There's a ton of advocates. You know, you may get conflicting information, but I believe there's no right answer. So you make a decision, you think it's right, and you feel it's right. You go with your brain and your heart, and when it resonates for you, that's the information you follow. So you can make a choice to do that. Believe it or not, I can't remember your second question. So, oh, how you talk to your doctor.
How do you talk
so for me, you know, I was born an advocate, really. I don't have any problem speaking up when I didn't know what the heck was going on, and I thought my doctor could make, you know, talk. And he said, is there anything you want to know? And I said, didn't you tell me everything? You know, I had no idea that they didn't tell me everything. No idea. Yeah. But so people can have a friend who's knowledgeable, someone who's had the disease and been there and done that, sit in a support group, because there's so much information you hear about what really happens in your disease, how your body feels, how recovery is, because, you know, most doctors, well, it doesn't really hurt, it won't really hurt, it won't really be a problem, your recovery will be quick. That's not true ever, and you need to know that. So if you talk to people who've had the disease, you're probably in a better place. There are also a whole range of people, cancer coaches, who are out in the world now, and you can pay them to come with you, and you choose them based on them being in a mindset that you like, you know, being in an area that you care about, having knowledge of an area that you're concerned about or interested in. We suggest that people can download articles from a site like ours and take it with them and open a conversation in a kind of neutral way and say, hey, you know, doc, I just saw this article. Do you know anything about it? Have you read about it? If doc says, no, you know, don't do it, then you say, what's your evidence for saying no? Because I'd really like to. I'm just wondering. And then there are people who make the decision to do it when their doctor, who doesn't really know much about it, has said no. But nowadays, a lot more doctors are saying, well, that's interesting, you know, maybe you can try that. I mean, sometimes they do ask this difference. What, you know, today at the American Holistic Nurses Association, several nurses came up and told us of patients who'd come in with much better scans, and they said to them, hey, what did you do? And they did lots of natural things, because, you know, it can impact your health. It may not cure you, but the idea is to live longer so that you can have a treatment that works for you. So you need little steps, not necessarily huge steps, to keep yourself healthier and well while you recover. And it's possible, because, again, I'm living proof. I'm not special.
Right. Oh, that's so wonderful. Let's talk about, so diagnosis, right? Let's try to go through the main phases in a person's life when they have cancer. So diagnosis, I know you talked about a lot of great points. You talked about understanding the information, making sure that consent is really a consent, right? You know what it entails, and it's you can take your time so that it's not when you're sitting in the hospital bed without glasses.
Right.
Right. So definitely having taking time to read and understand the procedure, truly being an informed consent, taking time to understand the procedures and knowing what it entails, realizing that you do have time, understand and trying to find support groups so that you have a community. The other thing you talked about was seeing what actually works for you. What do you prefer? And being able to speak up about it, because each of and every one of us, we have, it's us, it's me who's going through cancer, and I have certain preferences and certain things that would be best for me. So bringing that up, right? And you talked a lot about using diet and lifestyle and different healing modalities to see what works for you. So starting to look more into those and figuring out what works for you, and to some extent being fearless, being an advocate for yourself, right? So these were some of the key points I summarized from what you talked about. Is there anything else or you would suggest, or anything more you want to bring up for someone who's just been diagnosed and their world just fell apart? They're just trying to figure out what to do about a disease they didn't ask for.
I think it's really important to get in touch with someone who has the same disease. You know, there are groups that buddy you up, and I think that's really important, because there are groups that will match you age, disease stage, children or not, partnered or not. I think that's very important, because you want someone who's in a similar situation to talk to about it. And those friendships can last a long time and be extremely helpful. And they're, all you have to do is, there's groups like Immerman's Angels. There's a whole variety of groups that will match you with a partner. But if you have a specific disease, you can go online and find the group for that disease and ask them, do you have someone I can talk to? Almost all of them have helplines, and they'll give you the basics, so at least you know what to expect. I had no information when I went, none. I mean, none. All I knew was you either get a lumpectomy or a mastectomy. And the doctor said to me, oh, we'll do a lumpectomy. And I was like, oh, cool. But I didn't know what that meant. It didn't have any meaning. I mean, in fact, the first surgery ruined my breast, so I may as well have a mastectomy. It didn't matter. It was in pain from the beginning. So, you need to have someone to talk to. Nowadays with the internet, that's extremely helpful. You can go online and have somebody in 10 extraordinary, it's really valuable. But finding someone like that, maybe even having someone in your family who's appropriately supportive and not a crier, it's not a sob thing. It's an opportunity to make the correct moves in your life. But if you don't make the correct moves up front, you can make them after. I made all the wrong moves in the beginning, but I found a way to correct it. Can be done. I couldn't have brought my sister with me. I love my sister, but she would have cried every minute. It wouldn't have been helpful to me, I think you have to find the right person, and you can find that person. And, if you have to, you can pay somebody. There's also nurse navigators or patient navigators at many cancer centers, and they're very well informed, and they are on your side. They want to help you find the right next step. And, it's overwhelming because, I remember saying to people at medical meetings, if you're a doctor or a nurse who's had cancer, that's not the same as me. The only time I ever went to the hospital, my grandfather died. I don't go for work. I don't have friends there. I don't know the routine. I don't know the drill. I don't know the room. I've never been, my grandfather died. That's what I know about hospitals. So it is not the same. And when you want someone who understands your position, who's not a professional necessarily, until you need a professional. But until then, you want someone who's at your level, a peer counselor, I think. Very important. But there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. Makes a very big difference to have someone on your side, someone who'll talk to you, who'll make sure you understand and your choices are respected. Absolutely. And then as we go through treatment, right, what would be the words of wisdom you would like to share?
Well, to me, the most important thing is to never take chemo by itself without supplements or nutrition, juicing, detox. There's evidence that fasting is very helpful when you're doing chemotherapy, and people can find that pretty easily on the internet, and it's not fake stuff. It's real studies that have been really shown to make a difference. Don't do radiation without support. I think, for me, I think acupuncture is something I would want to do with every cancer treatment. I would do acupuncture if I was taking chemo. It helps reduce fatigue, nausea, keeps your blood counts more normalized. For radiation, it's very helpful in reducing fatigue. And I also like the spice turmeric or curcumin, which is the development. I would take that with everything. I would take fish oil. I would always have probiotics. I think every single human being should be taking probiotics. That's a very big thing on the news now, the microbiome and your gut bacteria. We know there's billions of kinds of gut bacteria, and we need to support that. Our whole environment is kicking us. Cancer came from somewhere. Generally speaking, I consider it a bad environment. I don't consider it necessarily bad genes. Something kicked off your genes going bad, and that's the bad environment externally, or what you're not eating, how physically active you are or not, how you handle stress or not. Those things are known to affect our genes. So I think it's important to focus on getting yourself to your best health. And that is, in my opinion, good nutrition, which I define as fresh, organic, whenever possible, fruits and vegetables, physical activity, to be athletic. My husband's an athlete, he's a champion. I'm not, but I'll keep moving all the time. I exercise every day anyway, even though I don't love it. Okay, detox. Yeah. Juicing is great. Fasting can be helpful. The right dietary supplements can be helpful, and there's a lot of studies to support that. I just think never do conventional treatment without support because it's harmed. I went to the January 2016, and you were there. We were at the survivorship conference, and what was it about? Not surviving cancer, but about surviving cancer treatment. And you have to survive cancer treatment because it harms you. So if you use natural protocols along with it, you can help yourself, and you should. It's definitely a responsibility of each individual to do something to help themselves. I do believe that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know me, I'm an oncology nurse, and my focus has been symptom management. And it's been amazing because when I came into this, I started as two different careers, as a holistic practitioner and as an oncology nurse. And then the more I did this, I realized it's such an integral part of a person's treatment, of a person's life, is to do the symptom management using integrative medicine, using these different modalities to support yourself, to manage your symptoms, to improve your immunity, to improve your mood. And it makes a phenomenal difference. It makes a difference to the quality of life. It makes a difference to how sick you feel. It makes a difference to whether you can continue your treatment. If you're really sick, you will not be able to continue your treatment.
Yes, that's right.
So it makes a phenomenal difference to focus on that symptom management. And as you mentioned, after treatment, there is so much that our body has been through with cancer and the treatment. It's taken a big toll. So it takes time, and it takes effort, it takes a lot of support from these different modalities and diet and lifestyle and exercise to recover from that and to truly be able to thrive, to conquer and be a survivor.
So, I think there's been progress over the 20 years since my diagnosis, 23 exactly. But I was originally told it didn't matter what I eat, didn't matter if I exercise. In fact, I shouldn't. They told me yoga might kill me, literally. That's what he said. And the immune system had nothing to do with cancer. So I was doing alternatives just by living. And so everyone now pretty much accepts that those things need to be addressed in order to have a better experience and to survive in a better way and have less harm. And yet those were alternatives, but not anymore. So everything that a doc might consider alternative now might be tomorrow's accepted therapies. And we shouldn't dismiss them too easily. And that's what I say to the medical community when I'm at a conference. You can't dismiss this stuff because it may be accepted, in next year or the year after. We may realize, hey, wait, fasting works, this works, that works. All these things that we thought were ridiculous, but are not. They're not.
Absolutely. I mean, so much of what we do mainstream now, we do talk about diet and lifestyle. We talk about nutrition. We talk about improving the immune system. I mean, this whole new...
And it's not only... Right. It's not only for cancer because it's about the human body. So you're reducing your risk of diabetes and heart disease and high blood pressure and all the other possible ails. You know, you can get older and stronger. I'm 68 now. I take no medication, no pharmaceuticals, lots of supplements. I still exercise. You know, I stay happy. I stay motivated. And I think it can be done and should be done. No, my husband, champion athlete, takes no pharmaceuticals. He's 73. He's got the strength of, you know, he's really in it. Well, you know, he's in great shape. He's really healthy and happy. And I think it can be done. And, you know, when we see people who are taking a medication and then they have a drug to deal with the adverse effects, I never call them side effects, they're effects. So as those adverse effects, you need another pill, another pill. Pretty soon you're taking 7 pills and they're all taking a toll on your body. So it's much better to go a more natural route and work with yourself to build your best self.
Absolutely. Oh, I love your postcards, Anne. Do you want to talk a little bit about your postcards?
Yes, we developed over a period of time the concept of something that no doctor could object to, and in fact the doctors like a lot. We call it 3 Steps for Health. I don't know if you can see it through the miracle of modern, probably not, but these 3 steps for health. Okay, good. Yeah. So the first step is eating 1 more fruit and 1 more vegetable a day. And the second step is taking a walk. So these are all ideas that can be adopted. The doctors say to us, oh yeah, my patients ask me if there's something they can do when they've been diagnosed. So we call it 3 steps, but it's really the first step toward being better health. And the reason we say 1 more fruit and 1 more vegetable a day is that sadly, too many Americans have no fruit and no vegetables. And I just want to tell the audience, French fries are not a vegetable. That's the #1 American vegetable. It doesn't count. There's no nutrients. Number 2 is ketchup. Okay, barely, but it has a lot of sugar. Avoid sugar if you have cancer. Hello, it's really bad for you. And the third vegetable is iceberg lettuce. So that also has no nutrients. So real organic whenever possible, fresh fruits and vegetables. There's a group called Environmental Working Group, EWG.org, that tells you how much a vegetable is sprayed or not. And they have a listing by what the worst are and the best are. So you can make some choices. But you can go to a farmer's market, a green market, a buying club, and get organic. You can have your own garden. Instead of having a big green lawn that uses pesticides, you can grow your own vegetables. I think it's a great idea. Okay, but taking a walk. We don't say how far, how fast, how long. Just get out there, be active. It gets your immune system going, and it helps your lymphatics. It's the right thing to do. And the third step, taking deep breaths. Even for me, fast-talking ex-New Yorker, now living in Florida, I calm down. It's so good. It helps in any kind of stressful situation. It's a great idea. And you can do it for free. Just do it.
Oh, this is so good. I loved it. I love the postcards. It's so true. It's every single thing in there. It's relevant. It's valuable. It's nothing that we can debate. We all agree that it is helpful. It's healthy. It's simple. We all should be following it. That's and you are amazing in this, and going to so many conferences, going to every possible place to spread the word on this to help people be healthy.
I want to give a shout out to Linda McDonald, one of our board members, she and I devised this postcard together, and we came up with the idea. And the pictures were created by Anita Lovett. She's a cancer survivor in Florida. And she did the little stick figures, which represent all of us, everybody. And it makes a difference. We know we can make a difference.
Absolutely, you do. You reach 85,000 people per month.
Well, the internet's astounding. Let's face it. It's an amazing place. And, we have Facebook. We're very active on Facebook. We have Twitter @Annie_Appleseed. We have an e-newsletter, has 9,000 subscribers. But we also reach out to advocate groups. We want the other advocacy groups to know about the work that we've gathered, the information that we share, so they can share it. We write articles for other groups' newsletters. The information gets out. It's very important. I can see on Facebook how many shares, how many people view it. And you can get a lot of people to pay attention in a very short time. It's very important and valuable. Really is. Absolutely.
I think we covered a lot of great things today. I want to switch over more to questions now. For us, I have some questions that were from our audience. So let me ask those. What kept you going going through when the going got tough?
Yeah, well, I was lucky because even though I had the recurrences, when they told me they were growing slower than normal cells, I just took that and ran with it. In 1997, they had the nerve to tell me I was stage 4 after I got tumors on the chest wall after mastectomy. And, I literally put up my hands and I said, I don't think you're talking to me. And I pushed it away because there was no possibility that would be stage 4 in the way that I was. I mean, they told me maybe, don't even go there, don't talk to me. And I don't know. I felt like I had a mission from the beginning because I could see from the original support group that what I did helped other people as well as me. And that really gave me the energy to keep it going. Like I said, I was born happy. So I'm always renewed every single day. I did not find it go forward. I really didn't. Lucky.
That's great. That's really wonderful. I think it's a lot about finding that grounding within yourself, whether it comes through people, finding your group that you can be with, or
right. And also, I have a very supportive husband, and he was really, even in the worst times, when I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know it was going to work out, believe me. But he was with me, and he just kept telling the doctors, "I'm with her. What she's to do is what I want to do. Don't tell me anything else." I mean, they were calling him saying, "Wife's going to die. She doesn't want to do this. She doesn't want to do that." They told him I wasn't going to die because I didn't want to do radiation. Nobody dies from a lack of radiation, so that was completely ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, support group, very important. Supportive friends, supportive family. There were people who thought I was nuts, but I ignored them.
Right, and finding the right provider that you are comfortable with, because you're going through a very difficult time.
Well, my doctor's an acupuncturist, so always has been, still is.
Right. So I think those I would say would be very good points. There was a question related to that, so we've covered it. There's another one about second opinion. So if people are getting second opinion for their treatment, how many people should you talk to, and who should you talk to?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Some people get hung up on having opinion. They go to 6 doctors. You could maybe get 6 different opinions, but that's not a good thing to do. What you need to do is make up in your head what direction you want to go in. And if you hear an opinion, what direction will you go in based on that? Because it's really your decision. So if someone says you should have a lumpectomy or you should have a mastectomy, have a clearer idea of why you would do one or the other. And the question needs to be, why are you suggesting that particular thing for me? What is it about my circumstance that brings you to suggest that? I think a second opinion is a good idea, especially if you don't like the first opinion. But, you may get conflicting opinions and you have to decide. So you need to gather. The question really is, why are you telling me this particular thing? What's that? And then go from there. But the decision is always going to be on your own shoulder. And you need to go forward from the day you get your diagnosis, start getting healthier. Start taking the 3 steps for health right away. Start thinking about some supplements and go forward even while you're soliciting opinions, because you can get healthier before you do any treatment. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's good to do it even before, say, for everyone. Right. Yeah. Yes, very, very, very good points. Let's touch on a little bit about herbs and supplements, because I know it's a little dicey topic. But if somebody was going through treatment, what would you suggest for herbs and supplements? Because you can take a lot, you can take less. There is conflicting information at times. Maybe the provider might not be open to discussing it. So what do you suggest as a way for someone to navigate this, especially someone who might not know a lot about herbs and supplements or is concerned? But
it's complicated in a way because, I'm not a doctor, I'm a patient advocate. So I don't usually tell people what to do, but I tell them either what I did or suggestions that I see studies about, and I might show people studies that support some of the things. So, for example, there are hundreds of studies on vitamin supplements or other dietary supplements, like, for in particular, since we're talking about breast cancer, resveratrol. There's just a new study that came out that totally supports the idea that resveratrol can contain breast cancer cells. And that's really important. So resveratrol is a supplement that I really like for breast cancer. Green tea.
Mm-hmm.
Green tea has so many aspects that are really supportive and helpful. And I remember researchers telling me years ago, "Oh, Anne, we're doing green tea." And I said, "Well, is it in humans or animals?" You know, green tea has been drunk in Asia for thousands of years, and they're okay. It's amazing. So green tea might be something, you know, I take it as a dietary capsule, not green tea because I'm lazy. But people could drink tea, you know. I take I think everyone should take probiotics. I think fish oil is really important. Fish oil has been shown to actually help with cachexia. Cachexia is what happens when you have cancer that's wasting your muscles and making you really ill and may cause deaths. So if fish oil can help, why would you not take fish oil? It also helps reduce the toxicity of chemotherapy and radiation. And I mentioned turmeric, which is a food in continuous human use for thousands of years. I take that. I think it's really helpful and helpful. So there are basics that can be done, you know, and then the vitamin supplements, there's zero evidence that antioxidant vitamins harm people, zero. What there is speculation. Oh, what if it caused a problem? So, and I say at conferences, well, study it. What do you mean, what if? But there are absolutely meta-analysis, which is a gathering of studies into larger groupings, and there are studies that show that there's a trend toward benefit, no harm. Now, if you're allergic to a supplement, don't take it, you know.
Right.
I mean, you find that out pretty much. The way that I take any new thing is one pill. I don't care what the bottle says. It could say 4 a day. I take one for 3 days, see how I feel. Because if I don't feel well, I'm not going to take anymore. You know, and I poisoned myself, but I didn't die. I just made myself sick for a day. And then I stopped taking it, you know. But you can find out, I was chemically sensitive. I have weird reactions to everything. So, but that's how you know. You take one. You don't like it, don't take it anymore. But basically, I think we all need vitamin D as well. I think everyone should supplement vitamin D. But the great thing with vitamin D is you can get that tested. You can get a simple blood test to tell you if you need more vitamin D or not. But I think we all do. Pretty much any group that's tested needs more. Because, you know, don't forget, we're all sitting indoors all day. We're under artificial light. We're just not out. Nature meant us to be outside in the sun a lot. We're not. So, you know, I think we need some sun for sure, but we also need to supplement vitamin D. And I think avoiding all sun is a mistake. There's some epidemiological studies of groups in the Northeast who get less sun. People in the South, where I now live, get more sun. They have less breast cancer. You know, people who work at night, who don't get any daylight, who switch around their circadian rhythm, they get more breast cancer. There's some things that have been shown over the years to impact breast cancer, and night shift working is one of them, unfortunately, for nurses who work a lot of night shifts. That's a higher risk for breast cancer. So get some sun, get some vitamin D, you know, some of the other supplements that I mentioned. I eat garlic every day. I think garlic's really helpful. If you saute, you should always throw in garlic or onion to cut the free radicals. It's a good idea for everybody. You know, I juice every day, 1 juice a day only now, and I put in garlic in my juice. I put turmeric whenever I can. I put ginger in. Ginger has also been shown to be very helpful. And if you're suffering from nausea of treatment, ginger, because it really makes a difference. It's
wonderful.
Even with medication, even with the anti-nausea meds, it still makes you feel better. It works. Really
good. Oh my God, such great ideas, and I think it will help for almost any symptom and for general health. You covered so many great ideas that people can do for herbs and supplements. Wonderful. The resources that I find very helpful that people can go to, in addition to what we have on helpseehealth.com, we try to cover a lot of information about different herbs and supplements and different spices. Also, NIH has a site when they cover all the studies that are done for each and every herb, supplement, spice. So you can go there. Plus, Memorial Sloan Kettering has a herbs database. So again, that has a lot of information on every herb and what kind of impact has been seen, and their focus has been more on cancer. So they have a lot of really good information too. And then there is natural databases, which again is free, I think. And you can go there and read a lot about each herb supplement spice to see what
Yeah,
studies
a
were
lot of good
conducted.
stuff. We didn't even talk about mushrooms, which are very important for breast cancer. I heard a speaker about mushrooms recently, and he said turkey tail is a very helpful mushroom, and you might want to alternate that with a mixture of mushrooms because there are so many. They're used in China and Japan quite frequently, along with therapy, and they're food. So you're not in danger when you eat food, but mushrooms have an impact on the immune system and are really helpful for breast cancer.
Right. Well, we have a very interesting next question.
Okay.
Just, and it's so true, is how do you balance between taking care of your health and work?
Yeah, say it again.
Given that there is, how do you balance between taking care of your health and work, given there is so much to do for health?
Well, yeah, it's an interesting thing. I actually stopped working for pay when I got the first round of recurrence because I thought I was going to die, but I didn't. So now I work full-time as a volunteer running the Appleseed Project, but I get up in the morning and I do my health protocol first, then I make breakfast, then I exercise, and then during the day I take my supplements at lunch, at dinner, and I always believe that you have to take care of yourself first. Very, very important. But, so work is a complicated thing because you have to be able to really tell people, hey, I need a half hour here. I have to take lunch a little early, make the ask. I mean, people want to be helpful. They're willing to be helpful if you ask. I mean, I couldn't work in an office where people wore fragrance. If they had any perfume or hair, I had a problem. And we actually had to ask the people in my office not to wear fragrance to work. So that was pretty strong with 30 people. But, they said, okay, we can do that. And they did. I mean, that was important. Now, sometimes they ask me, actually, the guys who used to be in the morning crew, I'm a morning person, I'd get in early and they'd say, oh, they were afraid of bugs. And I would have to come in and kill the bugs for them if there were bugs in their room. And I'm not kidding. So I would come in and kill the bugs and they would promise me they would never wear fragrance no matter what. That was our trade-off. But you can do that. You can make accommodation. But if you ask, people want to help. And I think it's worth it if you need a little bit of accommodation. But otherwise, make up a schedule and you see what you have to do every day and fit your schedule around, what the stuff you have to do for work and the stuff you have to do for your health. And I think a schedule is important. I had one hanging on my wall for a long time and it really helped.
Absolutely. Oh, you brought up so many great points. It's, yeah, as always, it's about putting yourself first. And I think it might seem initially when we start like it's overwhelming to take care of your health, but once you get into the routine and figure out what really you need to do to take care of your health, it's not that much. You can carve out the time for yourself to do that. Work is meant to be an 8-hour thing in a 24 hours time period. So the rest of the time is meant for us. So I think initially it might be challenging, but if you put yourself first, think of the routine, break it down, what you need to do at each step, then you'll be able to figure out these are the things you need to do for your health. And again, you brought up a really good point, Anne, about asking for accommodation at your work if it's needed. It's a lot of accommodation that you might need, or any of us might need. It's a basic expectations of being able to have a healthy life, of being a healthy employee. And some of those are even covered in your employee guidelines and policies. So you might not even be asking for something that is your right. And like you mentioned, and I think people want to help, people want to accommodate. Every cancer patient I've worked with who's needed like the aroma you talked about, being sensitive to perfume. I have never heard one person say that, people didn't accommodate, because we all understand we have, we all need things from each other. And this is something very basic. Everyone wants to help. Everyone wants to support. So to speak up for yourself and ask your questions. And if you are feeling overwhelmed or wondering how to manage between health and work and where to start, you can get a practitioner. You can get someone who's knowledgeable to help you take this piece by piece, step by step, and incorporate it in your life so that it's not overwhelming and you can actually focus on the things that will benefit you the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Very, very great points. Well, last question for you, Anne. What do you think Western medicine can do to improve and serve patients better?
Well, I think the key thing is that the doctors need to be more aware of the harms and protect people from them. I think, they're trained by the pharmaceutical industry, so they rarely spread their wings. But once they do, they can see that there are issues and we shouldn't just accept it. The old days, the concept was, hey, suck it up, we're curing cancer and you're complaining. But yeah, we're complaining. There's really big problems that are resolved. Neuropathy being, in my opinion, the biggest one, the longest lasting one, and sometimes the most harmful of all. We shouldn't have to have that. There are natural things that may reduce the risk. We have at Appleseed we have a handout with information on supplements that have been shown in studies to be helpful. They may be helpful to people. Docs should find out about it. And, that's why we say download and bring it to them. A new idea is only new the first time. It might not be new by the third or fifth time. Doc may say, hey, I've heard of that. Sounds good. And I think most of them are caring and they want to do the right thing. And you're just giving them more opportunity to do that. And, and that's useful. I think it's important to talk to Dr. Frankly like a real person, and I think they'll be grateful for that because, I see them at conferences. They're real people. I can guarantee that.
Yeah, we all want to help.
Yeah, they want to help.
We all want to help. And I think no one can know everything. Part of it is they may not have learned, they may not have covered it. So it might be new information for them, or people might not have asked it. So just being open and communicating. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Very great. Very nice. Well, thank you so much. And this has been such a wonderful treat to have you. And you shared so much great information about what all of us can do at every step, what all the resources are available for patients, and how you've incorporated integrative medicine, healthy diet, lifestyle, herbs, supplements into your life and what you are providing to the community. So really, really appreciate you having you here. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Welcome. And thank you everyone for watching. It's been wonderful to have you listen and take time. Please do post your questions, your comments. We look forward to hearing from you and finding ways that we can help you. And great job with staying for the full hour and listening. I hope you will find things that you enjoyed and you can incorporate in your life. It's all about what we can do every single day to take care of ourselves. So wishing you a healthy evening and a good night. Take care. Bye.